Hello and welcome back. This is day 22 of the 30-day video challenge. Words. This is day 22 of the 30-day video confidence challenge. And today I wanted to pose a question. Today I wanted to ask, what is your backyard advantage? And I want to show you an example of what I mean. As you can see, our backyard is, well, it's kind of in shambles. That's kind of what we got to work with. It's a pretty great backyard, except for the condition of it. What's great about this backyard is that this sun trap all faces south. So we could grow a lot of tomatoes and melons and things that like a lot of all-day sun and heat, which is pretty amazing. What is your backyard advantage? Do you have a lot of sun? If your property's on a slope, which direction does it face? Are there a lot of trees on the property that cause shade, or are there types of trees that perhaps prohibit other plants from growing under them, like the evergreens tend to? What are the soil conditions? Is there a lot of rock? Is it a lot of sand? What kind of plants are already growing there? What kind of weeds are growing all over the ground? That will tell you a lot about what's in the soil and what there is to deal with. Taz. For example, if there is a lot of tap-rooted type of weeds like dandelions, it could mean hard compacted soil that nature is trying to loosen up. If you've got a lot of Canada thistle, it's a really ugly thistle with a lot of tiny little spines, and it generally indicates poor soil. Horsetail can indicate poor soil or wet soil. There's just a number of kind of plants that can be indicators, because a large population of them tends to flourish when conditions are right to allow that plant to basically dominate an area. Or if you've got a lot of variety and a lot of herbaceous plants, herbaceous being plants that grow leaves during the summer and die down during the winter, that could mean a more balanced profile of sunlight and shade, perhaps of nutrition, and perhaps it's also like really ideal moisture levels. It's not too dry, it's not too wet. A lot of things could be grown there. So have a look around the backyard. Look at the conditions of the light and the soil and which way it faces, unless it's flat. But there's always something you can do with the space. If it's really shady, you could grow like ferns and some salad greens and things that like cooler weather. If it's really hot, you could grow a lot of like herbs that really enjoy the heat and the sunlight, especially if your property is really rocky. And you never know. A lot of gardening success is based on working with the conditions that you have and not trying to grow something that would not normally grow in those conditions, which is where a lot of gardening efforts can fail. In the past, because of the kind of properties we've lived at, I've had like shaded backyards, had like no backyards, and I've had like situations where there's like no real garden space for me, which can be real frustrating for me as someone who likes to do that sort of thing. So this year is different in many ways. This year is different because I've got the opportunity to do it. I've got a lot of space to do it. And I'm also going to try something completely different, because there isn't actually a lot of real garden area, like not in the ground. So during my landscaping job this past year, I collected a number of different size pots, especially the tree pots, every time we planted on the landscape. I would stack them up and put them in the car wherever I could fit them and bring them home. And so I'm going to be doing a lot of container gardening this year, which is totally different than what I've ever done before. I've never really done a lot of container gardening. I've done a little bit from time to time, but it's mostly just been like in-ground type of gardening. And yeah, this will be a new learning curve for me, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a completely different gardening experience for me. And I'm really looking forward to see what we can make of it. We intend to grow a lot of food this year because of the kind of space we have and because of how many pots I've got. The other day we planted some seeds, so we've got like tomatoes started, we've got some herbs started, lavender and rosemary, and some flowers like lobelias and black-eyed Susans, so we'll see what comes of that. And we've got some things started in a grow tent in the basement, so I'm pretty excited about that as well. After you have had a basic assessment of the conditions of your backyard, do a Google search and find out what kind of plants do well in those kind of conditions. And from there, just try growing a small selection of those plants. Don't go overboard. It's really tempting, especially if you love plants, to just have so many of them. But try to go less. And if you go a bit less, it'll be easier to take care of. You'll be more likely to succeed because you won't be overwhelmed. And the individual plants can grow larger because there is more space around them and less competition. If you don't have real garden space in your backyard, kind of like what I'm dealing with, use 5-gallon buckets with holes drilled in the bottom. Use some old Rubbermaids or the reusable grocery bags. Put one within another and grow a big tomato in it or something. Start really simple, start with cheap things you can afford and easily maintain. And nobody really cares if it doesn't look pretty. If it's growing you food, I'd say just go for it. If you are someone who has mobility issues and it's hard for you to get down to ground level, consider getting a low table or a foldable table or something that can elevate your potted plants up off the ground so they're easier for you to maintain and to harvest. You can order a yard of garden soil. There are many companies in most large cities that will deliver a big cubic yard of soil for you. Usually these are around $200. It's less if you have a pickup truck and you can get it yourself. But that's a way you can get some decent garden soil. And who knows, maybe by keeping it really simple, you might have a lot of food this year. Thanks for watching. I hope some of this helps you in any gardening efforts you're into this year. And I'll see you on the next video.